Who is going up from League One this season? Hello guys, welcome back to yet another video. Today we are dissecting the race for the top two places in League One. We're not really going to look so much at the top six battle because that goes as far down as mid-table. Today we're looking at the teams that are in contention for the automatics. Before we get into this video, do make sure to drop a like, do hit the red subscribe button down below, do feel free to subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you support one of these teams? Let's get into it and break down these numbers. So then, as you can see, if you look at this table, this is the top 7 of League One currently, and I don't think any team below 7th right now is going to get into that top 2. Even Peterborough and Barnsley have a very slim chance, but because they've got a slim chance, we're going to involve them in this argument. You can see Sheffield Wednesday are top of the division, Plymouth Argyle sit in 2nd place, Ipswich Town are in 3rd, Derby County are now up to 4th with a game in hand on Ipswich there, Bolton are in 5th with Barnsley 6th and Peterborough 7th. They've got 3 games in hand on Bolton. Let's get into the numbers then. You can see there's a graph below me which will go through some of these numbers, and let's see who's the strongest in each of these key areas. At the moment, Sheffield Wednesday and Plymouth are the first teams highlighted with yellows because they have the highest amount of points and points per game this season. So coming on to the next thing, they have the highest projected points for this season. So if they continue to do what they've done so far in the entirety of this season, Sheffield Wednesday will rack up 101 points, Plymouth Argyle with 97, Ipswich and Derby will both come in at around 87 points, with Bolton on 82, Barnsley on 80, and Peterborough just missing out with 75 points. It does show that the bar is going to be very high to get automatics and the top 6 this season, which shows that so many of these teams are performing so well that they're really raising the game for each other. Let's look at the next thing then, which is points per game in their last 5, which will show their form. As you can see, Sheffield Wednesday and Derby County are the teams in yellow here. So they have been performing the best out of these 7 in their last 5 games. Sheffield Wednesday have won 5 out of 5, giving them a points per game of 3 points because they're picking up every single point based on these last 5 games. Plymouth Argyle with 1.6, which isn't great. It's not really that 2 point per game standard, which you usually need for 2nd place. Ipswich Town are coming in with 1.2. They've actually only picked up 6 points in their last 5 games. Derby County, like I say, absolutely flying at the moment. They are doing what Sheffield Wednesday are doing, which is winning every game in their sight, and they've actually got the best goal difference from the last 5 games as well. So even though they've both been brilliant, Derby are just on top based on the goal difference there. Bolton are doing really well at the moment with 4 wins in 5. They've got a 2.4 points per game in their last 5 games, which is very high, which is, you know, above top 2 standard. Barnsley 1.4, not great, especially with Peterborough below them on a higher points per game in the last 5. So Peterborough at the moment are shutting the gap on Barnsley based on just the last 5 games. Let's come on to points per game for the last 10 games then, and once again Sheffield Wednesday and Derby are leading this. Sheffield Wednesday with 2.4 points per game over 10 games, which is obviously a bigger sample size, but as I say, the recent form's really good. So Sheffield Wednesday are absolutely flying. Unless something goes catastrophically wrong, I can't see them not making the top 2 and wrapping up the title at the same time, I must say. Plymouth Argyle are a bit better if you just look at the last 10 as opposed to the last 5. Obviously in the last 5 they had that defeat to Sheffield Wednesday, 1.8 points per game in their last 10, which is nearly 2 points per game, but as you can see, Derby County will gain on them if they keep going the way they are. Ipswich with 1.4 from the last 10. I don't think Ipswich are going to stay in this top 2 conversation if they continue to struggle like they are. It's not a terrible points per game ratio, but it's not top 2 standard. They will kind of level out and just finish in the playoffs if they keep going the way they are. As I say, Derby County are matching Sheffield Wednesday again with 2.4 points per game from the last 10, which is an absolutely fantastic stat. Bolton Wanderers are still going strong, 2.1 points per game. As I say, that is top 2 standard. That's really good over the last 10 games, 21 points from 30. Barnsley with 1.7 points per game from the last 10, which is 17 points collected from the last 30 available. That is pretty good. It is actually higher than Peterborough's if you look at the last 10. Peterborough have been very good in the last 5, but if you look over the last 10, the 5 games before that, they weren't so good. So they've been averaging 1.3 points per game from their last 10. So then this is quite interesting. If you just use the form from the last 10 games to project how many points the teams are going to get in the next part of the season, Sheffield Wednesday will rack up 103 points, Plymouth with 92, Ipswich Ipswich with 79, but Derby County are going to jump into that top 2 with 95 points. As I say, they are setting the standard very high at the moment, and they have to keep it going. Honestly, they're absolutely flying, but they'd have to keep it going because they are shutting quite a big gap that Plymouth Argyle opened up. Bolton 87 points, Barnsley 79 points, which is funnily enough the same as Ipswich, and Peterborough 69 points, so not as high. Peterborough need their form to improve, but it has been over the last 5 games. The last stats we'll look at are expected goals and the bookies predictions. Let's go for expected goals first, which has Sheffield Wednesday second. I mean, that's pretty good. Sheffield Wednesday I still think will win the league. Their expected goals is the second best. Plymouth's is the 6th best. Expected goals is saying that Plymouth have been very clinical, and it suggests Plymouth have maybe won or drawn games where they probably didn't deserve it, but that's a good thing, obviously. Ipswich Town are the highest on expected goals, so they are creating a lot of chances, not having too many chances created against them, but something's not quite right. They're obviously being wasteful with their chances and conceding more than they should be because they're currently 3rd and their form at the moment isn't one of the best. Derby County are 3rd on the expected goals, which does suggest their expected goals is higher than Plymouth's, which could be a key thing if they're trying to close them down. Bolton, funnily enough, are 10th on the expected goals, which is actually the lowest in this top 7. So Bolton are obviously being very clinical. I mean, it's not bad XG. I mean, you can finish in that top 6 with an XG of about 15th place team if you just continue to be clinical, and Bolton are continuing to do that. Barnsley with the 9th best XG, Peterborough with the 4th best XG. They are really creating a lot of chances, so they need to keep scoring them if they're to close the gap on the top 6. And finally, what are the bookies saying? Well, they have Sheffield Wednesday to win the league, which is what I predicted from the start of the season, and I'm standing by that, especially the form they're in. I think Sheffield Wednesday could get over 100 points if they keep going the way they are, so I think the bookies are spot on with that. The bookies have Plymouth Argyle at 4th. I think that's really harsh because Plymouth aren't in terrible form and they're 2nd with a pretty decent gap at this moment in time. Yes, Derby County are in good form, but what's interesting is the bookies have Ipswich as the team to get into 2nd. I don't know if they're basing that on Ipswich having a very good expected goals, because at the moment Ipswich Town's form does not have them heading towards Plymouth Argyle in 2nd place. If anything, it has Derby County to overtake Ipswich in the next couple of weeks. So Ipswich fans, Plymouth fans, what's your thoughts on that? The bookmakers have Derby County to climb up to 3rd, which I think could be right. I do think Derby County will break into the top 3, the form they're in, and I think they could break into the top 2. It all comes down to if Plymouth Argyle hold their nerve, and especially in the head-to-head when these two face very soon. The bookies have Bolton in 6th, Barnsley to finish 5th, and Peterborough to finish where they are in 7th place. So that is the numbers in full, guys. Sheffield Wednesday are yellow in every department, which suggests they are just doing brilliant. Plymouth Argyle are yellow in most of the departments. Derby are in some of the best form, so they're in a few yellows there, and Ipswich Town are good on the XG, and the bookies still fancy them, so they're still in this conversation. My gut feeling is it could be a shootout between Plymouth Argyle and Derby County for 2nd place, unless Ipswich really turn their form around and they could get right back into this conversation. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see anyone catching Sheffield Wednesday. I think they're going to blast off in their own direction. I think Barnsley, Bolton and Peterborough aren't mathematically out of the top 2 race, but they'd have to be so good to catch up with them, so they might have to settle for the playoffs. That wraps up my thoughts, guys. Get your thoughts down below. It's such a fascinating battle for promotion in League One. Do share your thoughts whether you're a supporter of one of these teams or not, and do make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button. We'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.